Starting from introduction. Introduction taking into account different aspects of the situation, urban planning, Thai context. And we witnessed some countries where urban planning is still a big concern because the focus on economic development and growth inevitably has prolonged some kind of instability, and they didn't solve the issues and the problems arising from so let's say big infrastructure, sometimes some development, but not really an urban planning and urban design that was concerning at each level, each scale of the country, how the country have to be developed or transformed or preserved. So what we witness now is an uncountable urban sprawl, lacking or insufficient public transport, and different access to the space of and right to the space of connectivity. From the existing studies, we know that diversity also brought by immigration is quite important, and it could be a sort of stimulus to arise, properly conduct, properly controlled a stable growth and development. Talking about Thailand, it belongs to the Asian economy community since 2015. But as we said, the fact of and is outdated, both the tools and the urban law, the planning law and the regulation, as the European countries, also Thailand, is stimulating a more integrated activity and implement participation in the development of the areas. There is also a statement here that says that the increased diversity of population should be as well reflected in the urban development of neighborhood and the city as a whole. So the diversity is a value that could be not only could be a value where the development can root its progress, but also could be or must be shown. There is a lot of activities run since, as I say, 2015. Thailand entered the EAC area, but none of those actions is associated with immigrant integration. And Thailand actually is one of the most important areas of immigration from neighbors countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar. These flows of migration are important, as it is important to consider the fact that there is a future transportation network that is linked all the main city as hub of this network in Thailand. And starting from Chiang Mai, that you can see from the map here, is northeast. So is it could be also be part of the connection with the most wider network that China is also building. And there is the Silk Road that almost everybody knows in Europe as in Asia and all around the world. That is assembling new trade routes and regions closer to this route, and is putting together this network with harbor and railway and highway and airports and so on. So it's a quite big one, and somehow this AEC is connected also to this big opera. We were saying that in Thailand, unexpectedly for us, being European, is also a country of migration, is one of the major countries of migrant destination in the top of 15 receiving countries. So there is internal migration and there is the international migration population. And if you look in the country, we have 3,722,000 100,000 people that is entering every year. Other country destination like Malaysia, Singapore, that are still in the high ranking as a park, they see lower numbers rather than Thailand. There is another point that we want to raise, that is the fact that Thailand reached the peak point of its demographic growth. Therefore, Thailand, especially not only in future, but in near future, probably has to rely in the workforce of the immigrant. And here it's quite clearly shown who are the ones that are declining and the ones that are still on the peak. Chiang Mai, that is our case study, the province that you remember is in the north, a touristic destination, but among the local from the tribe from the hills, there are also the so-called alien residents, especially from Myanmar and Laos. And this is causing a lot of problems, of course, related with the fluxes of the workers, with the transport hubs, and also it increases, it's not only a problem of technical infrastructures, it's also a problem of growing of development that is private development, and also growing of everything that is connected with the high traffic of transport system that is using carbon fossil fuel. Here you can see some zoning about the area. The population of the whole province is around 400,000 of population, and in the city area there are almost 148,000. What is the condition of migrant integration in Thailand? We see that there are no many actions, but there is, for instance, a list of occupation that are allowed to do for the migrant workers. By law, they define categories of immigrants eligible engaging temporary employment. There are also some problems related with the neighbor countries like Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos, and they have also a sort of deportation found that is detracting from that. There is also a bad stigma for these people as alien residents, that is nomen omen, alien residents, it says to you something. And nobody is concerning also the level of skills of the immigrants. They are assuming that all the immigrants that are coming have low knowledge, low skill, low education. So mainly they are low income workers, but it's not true. And another thing that is quite crucial, by law, it's not allowed to change. And once you, as a migrant, you enter and you are employed by someone, hired by someone, you can't leave that job and you can't leave your workplace. So it's really rather restrictive. And what is the impact on the recent study about migration and immigration in sense negative and in positive terms? Of course, the negative are the one that we know quite well: social tension, segregation into the ghettos, shortage of service because we are lacking of houses, of schools, of healthcare, and there is pressure in the local community level, and especially in the area where these people settle, usually that are the more sensitive in terms of society and economically deprived areas. And also the other problem is a problem of culture and intolerance, because we have intolerance and xenophobia. What about good things? Of course, immigration solved the problem of labor shortage. And somehow, especially in the entrepreneurship, diversity diversity and diverse opportunities bring competitiveness among them, more self-aware. Could be immigration, this is a point, a question mark, could be immigration a solution for aging society? For sure, it sustains a local neighborhood, and it fueled the usage of public transport instead of private, and in somehow is a stimulus of economic growth. So we have different thoughts about what is in between the diversity of immigrants and the local. What I would like to underline here is that pointed out that the context of educational facility, local colleges of further education, or like Polytechnic University, are providing the affordable and flexible opportunities for all skill training as well. And also that there is a possibility for the local association, not a possibility, but it's preferable to have multiple function. They can, pass from neighbor watching group to religion, to volunteer group, ethnic-based group, or amenities association, and so on. And, the fact that space is crowded, of course, there is an increment of the use of public space, and everything improves the local economy, like the ethnic restaurant, for instance, and so on. So let's go to the diverse neighborhood design principle. As we mentioned, that is the DNDP. DNDP has two different levels of principles. One is the physical context, and the other is not physical one. In the physical context, one of the principles that must be applied is that we have to be affordable connection, free, safe, open public spaces, access to diverse choices of housing, more mixed use, cultural spaces, local institutions, public infrastructures, facility for children, neighborhood amenities, community hub center. From non-physical context, we have appropriate activity of promotion of the area. There must be present a mediator or advocator, presence, if possible, of local association, like local partnership with stakeholders, civic participation, economic opportunity. Of course, from the point of view of migrants, a flexible permit of stay, and the rights to define diversity, assistance to the language, to alphabetization of the language, and diversity as a commonplace. Those are not something that it burst out from nowhere, but is a list that comes from accumulated experience that in the case studies we had from Milano, Kyoto, and Singapore. So it's something that is belonging to that. We conduct a survey also with 100 respondents of immigrant citizens. And we ask them what is the most important thing that is lacking. And there is here on the answer: lack of public transport, less access to public space and educational services, little public and civic participation, no access to skill training, so much power of the authorities on family reunion, citizens, LTR, not so diverse. What the immigrants perceive, there is a big problem to learn Thai, so it's not an easy language. That is a problem to learn it. So we conduct also a survey with the immigrant citizenship in Chiang Mai, asking what are the missing aspects of DNDP factors, and we see here different lists that are from more mixed use as a potential factor that have to be improved. More mixed use, cultural space, local institution, public infrastructures, amenities, neighbor amenities, appropriate activity promotion. Let's say the same one that we found in the other cities. What are absent factor affordable connection, again, till all those are the activities. But what they underline, we want to understand what must be provided. And this is the answer. For instance, in the area, there is a mixed use of space of the Healing Family Foundation that is putting together art gallery, orphanage, learning centers, residential building, and they would like to improve such kind of networking hub because it's really quite important with the high diversity, because from art gallery to orphanage. So there is also a temple that is a museum, and also, and this is important for the social life because there you have the space to share, to exchange, to learn, etc. And is run by community themselves, so the leader. The other problem is a physical one, and this especially because their waterfront space, that is quite important, is often inaccessible. So what we use to define, to work on it, was to use a gaming simulation before to enter the diverse neighborhood design principles, is to use gaming simulation to understand what can be used, what it can be not. Gaming simulation are the sort of training techniques for professional practitioner and learning techniques for students and researchers. And it can be defined as is the schematic is here, you know, from a sort of debriefing cognitive map, then you run the gaming simulation with different actors that put themselves in different shoes, and they decide with different relations, and their decisions are taken and implemented in the model simulation. The feedback is going back and so on. So it generates scenarios, and they are useful for community visioning. In the word, this is my own definition. Gaming simulation may be defined as the simulation of the facts of decisions made through the assumption of roles governed by rules. Rules are the roughly balanced mixture of role simulation and game, in which the simulation concerns a model. So is somehow a sort of learning by doing. It increase or enhance multi-law conservation. It allowed you to swap shoes, like in role playing, and also to experience leverage and brainstorming with a different efficiency and with a different level. The fact is that gaming simulation is one of the essential tools to understand the city, as one of the best tools. Starting in 2012 with the summer school in Atalanta, a group that I was guiding designed the rival diverse city. To try to solve the target was to educate the student, make decision makers understand problem, land use, resilience, dynamic of urban migration, because there is a chronic problem of urban migration and how this migration is influencing the urban fabric. So there is a complex reality, problems in the reality. So we found the way how to define the game objectives and crucial criteria for game design. We stimulated through game scenario different situation. We played it. We played it in a different let's say with different targets and with different, I have to say, also outcome. So we played that game, and what happened after that game? I think that I want to go through this. You can read it, but this after they learned that there are many things that need to be done, they started their own local initiative. They come together weekly during the weekend to discuss about what tech neighborhood plan, and maybe many ideas started from to taking shape. So you see, it's quite a big achievement. For instance, also they think that let's say, they believe that we just only also the residents and the immigrants. Remember what I said, when if you want to have really power, it couldn't be possible to achieve any kind of integration. The public hand is concerning, and they have to work with them seriously. What about the game itself? The game simulation somehow didn't stop when they stopped to work, because they start to promote diversity with their kids. They start to exchange ideas in the different groups. So somehow the playfulness of the game went further. They understand that is important. Urban planning is something that is crucial for sure for Chiang Mai and in Thailand in general to be applied. This is what is really touching us and moving us, is that the first time after the game session, many residents start to talk with the immigrant people for the first time. And let's say, and they say, we want to know more. So this is really helpful, and I hope that they really think about it. We made analysis of some results of the answers. This is the whole sampling group. So what is important here is the relevance of the importance of the urban game simulation and the urban planning. So for the first time, people understood the value of urban planning. And let's say we will see a little bit more during this presentation. From the immigrant point of view, they have some emotional rather than the native residents. And there are some changes about, for instance, it's good to live near people who are different, that change from neutral to agree. And also, let's say, we should promote more diversity in our neighborhood. It's a change from neutral to agree again. And it's also for the immigrants, they understood that it's nice to live with different people. And there is such a sort of promotion of diversity itself. The resident group change, it was unexpected, not unexpected for us, what was their approach to urban planning and to immigrant, etc. Through the game, they understood differently. It is good to live near people who are different. We should promote more diversity. Urban planning is related to immigrant interest. We should be more open to immigrants and immigrate as integral part of urban development. This is quite small. So, but what is important is that the one that is most important is urban planning is related to immigrant integration. So these are the data, and these are some of the design workshop of the gaming simulation, as you can see here. And this is some results. One of them is existing building usage in what campus surrounding area that are the opposite of the riverbank, and new cultural hub community center that is close to, let's say, the churches of different faith, and is quite important. So this is the essence of this, the DP that fulfill immigrant basic needs, essentially how they work. So we start from economic opportunity, affordable connection, access to diverse choice of housing, public infrastructures that are basic need. There is a need of space for intervention. And also here is where the local mediator can start. The conclusion are, there are some conclusions for the Wat Kat neighborhood in Chiang Mai, and as a high potential factor that are unique also for the community. So the good starting point could be the adaptive reuse of vernacular buildings that can be reframed, redesign multiple usages, diverse neighborhood design principle combining with gaming simulation tools is a really good median or reasonable median for immigration integration. And because they understand that it opened their minds, they have some more ideas. And also it encourages, of course, bottom-up participatory planning. So what is the final statement? That gaming simulation provide opportunities for learning by doing and multi-level conservation for the players, facilitators, and observers in such a playful and cordially environment. So that's almost what is left, also with some recommendation by law. So you see that what it comes out is not just a feeling or just, but is something that is going to be kept from the further action and implementation. Let's say that, for instance, about the development, we have to rely more in private rather than the public end, but it means that we must register appropriate development guidelines before to push to start with it. Of course, it seems that some laws and rules are absolutely outdated, and is really urgently needed transfer of development rights to incentive zoning as urgent need. So the recommendation is to increase or implement more participation process. And of course, if we have more time, more structure group, etc., the result will be really significant. But I think that somehow gaming simulation could be really embedded and included in participatory process as a really good tool. Like, let's say, the other comments that are related, especially to the fact that they can pick their process also outside. Thank you very much.